Hello and welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. I'm David McBee. Based on my book by the same name, this podcast is for those of us who believe in personal growth and want to improve every day. This is episode 14, Garbage In, Garbage Out. I've been reading this great Star Wars book lately called Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn. It takes place right after the Death Star is destroyed in A New Hope, and it features Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Lando as the main characters. It's not your usual good versus evil, Jedi versus Sith Star Wars story. It's about a heist to recover a bunch of credits that were stolen from an innocent man. It's kind of like the Star Wars version of Ocean's 11. Anyway, I'm sucked into this book. I've been listening to it when I drive, when I mow, when I work out. I even listen to it when I wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep. I've also been a little obsessed with social media lately. I'm trying to leverage Instagram to promote my book, DJ's Off-Road Adventures. I basically post pics and videos of my four-wheeling trips and then sprinkle in mentions of the book to the off-road community that follows me. It's kind of a grassroots marketing campaign, and it does seem to be working with more and more people aware of the book and sales slowly starting to pick up. But that's not the point. The point is that I've been spending a lot more time on Instagram. Posting, liking, commenting, following, obsessing. You get the idea. Also, I recently subscribed to HBO Max, and that reignited my TV addiction in a bad way. I'm binge watching Friends with my daughter, The Big Bang Theory, and Doctor Who like it's my job. Sadly, I've wasted hours on the couch just vegging out. Finally, I've been reading a ton of news. I think it's important to stay informed about the pandemic and protests and riots, despite how negative it all is and how powerless it makes me feel. What I haven't been doing is reading from a positive book every day. I've slacked on exercising and I stopped recording my calories in my phone, which has resulted in more snacking because how can you watch 3 hours of Friends without making a few trips to the pantry, right? The point is, I've replaced reading a positive book every day with a bunch of garbage. Entertaining and fun garbage, but still garbage. Now, if you've read my book or followed this podcast regularly, you probably know where I'm going with this. All this garbage and the lack of positive stimulus is a recipe for a crankier, unhappier version of me. I've been short-tempered and disagreeable, and after just a couple of weeks, it's having a negative impact on the people around me. Just yesterday, my wife and I argued about something, and it was totally and completely my fault. Interactions with my kids have been tenser, and I've just been totally unmotivated. I was trying to blame all the COVID-19 stuff because normally we would be on a family vacation having a lot of fun right now. But the reality is that I'm suffering from a classic case of GIGO. GIGO, G-I-G-O, stands for garbage in, garbage out. And it's a concept used by computer scientists and mathematicians. Basically, it says that the quality of output is determined by the quality of the input. Or said another way, if you put flawed data into an equation or a program, the results will also be flawed or garbage. I've been putting all this stuff in my head for a couple of weeks now and not balancing it out with anything that helps me be the better version of myself. You'd think I'd learn by now. I've been on this roller coaster so many times and I know exactly what I need to do to feel and be better, but for some reason I still let myself go down this path every now and then. Why? Why do I do this? Okay, I have a theory. I think it's because when it's happening, the consequences aren't obvious. And then a few small steps at a time, I get all the way to this place where I'm down and unmotivated. From that place, it's really hard to get up. I can hear the angel on my shoulder whispering in my ears telling me that I need to unplug from social media, news, and TV and just pick up a good book, that it'll make me feel right as rain if I just do it. But because I'm down, I ignore that angel. I listen to the devil telling me to sit on the couch and watch even more TV. I shove Doritos in my face and tell myself I deserve a break. I find myself getting further and further away from the best version of myself. Then something happens. Usually it's an argument or a temper tantrum where I hurt someone's feelings. That's when I finally do what needs to be done. I skip the Star Wars book and listen to a real book full of everyday lessons. I experience moments of clarity and inspiration that remind me who I'm supposed to be, and I start to come back to life. The good news is that I know what to do and I'm able to self-repair, if you will. The bad news is that it keeps happening and I know it will happen again. My attitude will suffer and so will the people around me. All this got me wondering two things. One, am I unique? Like, do other people go through something similar where their attitudes are impacted by their input? Is all the bad news in the world affecting everyone the same way it's affecting me? I'm really asking. These aren't hypothetical, rhetorical questions. I would love to hear from you. You can find my contact information at everydaylessonseveryday.com. My second question is this: can the world be repaired with more positive input? If so, what might that look like? I know it's nuts to think everyone in the world would or even could commit to reading something positive every day. But what if they did? What if we all balanced out the garbage with something inspirational and uplifting? Would attitudes be better? Would people be more motivated? Would more spirits be lifted? Would relationships improve? Would people be kinder and more patient? Maybe I'm naive, but I like to think the answers to all of those questions are yes, 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 and yes. It's why I have dedicated this time in my life to promoting everyday lessons every day. Not the book, but the concept of reading, learning, and growing every day. It's why I take several hours out of each weekend to create a new podcast. And it's why I'm so grateful to you for listening in. You are a living example of someone who is choosing to consume positive content to improve your life. And now I want to go straight to my weekly challenge. I know normally I challenge you to implement the everyday lesson of the week, but you're already doing that. What would be the point in asking you to write GIGO on your wrist when you're already inputting positive content into your brain? Instead, I'm going to set a BFHG. That's a big, fat, hairy goal, by the way. And I'm going to ask for your help in achieving it. I'm going to ask you to do something that could maybe help heal the world, even if it's just a little. Here goes. Would you be willing to invest in a couple of books and recruit others to embrace everyday lessons every day? Again, I'm not talking specifically about my book or my podcast. It can be any book or positive content that promotes personal growth. Now, you have to be careful with this because giving someone a book on self-improvement can be perceived as a criticism of their character. I mean, think about it. Hey, Joe, I'd like you to consider reading this book about how to be a better husband. And Joe's all like, what are you trying to tell me, bro? So don't do that. Instead, invest in a couple of books that have made a difference in your life. Send them to the people who you think will receive them with an open mind, and tell them how the books helped you to be a better version of yourself. Tell them about the concept of GIGO and everyday lessons every day, and our goal of making the world a better place, one person, one book at a time. Look, I know that not everyone is going to embrace this idea. We're not all readers, and not everyone is in a place where they are looking to grow. But what if we can introduce just a few new people to the wonderful world of self-improvement? Might we make the world a tiny bit better? It reminds me of a classic parable. Maybe you've heard it. It's the one about an old man who was walking along a beach that was littered with thousands of starfish that had been washed ashore by the high tide. As he walked, he came upon a young boy who was throwing the starfish back into the ocean one at a time. The man looked at the boy and asked what he was doing. Without looking up from his task, the boy simply replied, "I'm saving these starfish, sir." So the old man laughed at him. "Son, there are thousands of starfish and only one of you. What difference can you make?" And the boy picked up a starfish, gently tossed it into the water, and turned to the old man and said, "I made a difference to that one." And so I challenge you, talk to a few people about GIGO and your personal experience with self-improvement. Share your favorite books with them and invite them to start their own personal everyday lessons journey. I know we can't help everyone, but maybe, just maybe, we can make a difference for a few and in turn make the world just a tiny bit better. Let me know what happens when you implement this lesson. I'll see you next time. Now go out there and do something awesome.